It happened on a Tuesday. 2:47 p.m., conference room D17, glass walls, fluorescent hum. I'd booked the slot for a quick sync of launch prep feedback. My boss, the new VP of operations, was 15 minutes late, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. She didn't look up when she came in. I started with something small. I wanted to make sure I'm aligned with your expectations for the product launch next week. Is there anything specific you'd like adjusted in the reporting flow? She sighed, tapped her phone once, and said without looking at me, "Leave me alone. If I need something from you, I'll ask." Just like that. Then she walked out. I remember staring at the empty chair for a second longer than I should have. The condensation ring from her coffee bleeding into the conference table. I wanted to tell myself I'd misheard it, that it was stress, bad timing, anything, but the way she didn't even pause told me it wasn't a slip. It was hierarchy. I'd been at the company 3 years, data analyst, mid-level, the kind of person who remembers the things other people forget, the guy who keeps the launch dashboards clean, tracks the audit checklists, knows which vendor API breaks if you breathe on it wrong. I wasn't brilliant, but I was consistent, and that consistency had kept 3 launches from imploding before she even arrived. When she joined, everything changed. She spoke in slogans: velocity, synergy, visibility, like she'd swallowed a LinkedIn post and decided it was a strategy. Her calendar was full of leadership circles and vision alignments. Feedback, when she gave it, came as sarcasm disguised as mentorship. "You're very detail-oriented," she'd say, maybe too much for someone who's not customer-facing. I let it roll off, usually, but that Tuesday the launch was less than 2 weeks out. I wanted clarity. What reports she wanted in the deck, how deep the QA needed to go, who would own the compliance sign-offs. I'd seen chaos before. I was trying to keep it from happening again. Her "leave me alone" wasn't just a line. It was a wall slamming shut. I went back to my desk. The open doc I'd titled Launch Controls V4 stared back at me, half filled with questions she didn't care to answer. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, then stopped. I closed the doc, renamed it Archive. That was the moment I switched off the noise. I didn't quit. I didn't argue. I didn't complain to HR. I just stopped saving her from herself. Up until then, I'd been running interference, fixing numbers before she noticed, writing the summaries she claimed as her own, smoothing the client edges she kept scraping raw. Now, I started letting things land where they belonged. If someone emailed me for an update, I tagged her. If she ignored a compliance ping, I didn't follow up. If her deck broke a formula, I didn't fix it before the review. I documented everything, every handoff, every flag, every unanswered question, timestamps, links, receipts, not out of spite, out of self-preservation. The silence felt strange at first. Colleagues noticed. "Everything okay?" my teammate asked one morning. "Yeah," I said, "just focusing on what I'm responsible for." The first few days she didn't notice, or pretended not to. She still sent Slack messages at odd hours. "Need the client metrics. ASAP. "Where's the report draft?" I replied each time with links, polite, professional, nothing more. No extra analysis, no "I fixed this already." Just the facts. Then the tone changed. By Friday, her messages started piling up with urgency. "Didn't you normally have this QA done earlier?" "Who's reviewing the compliance checklist?" I answered, pending your approval from last week's note. She didn't reply. Over the weekend, I saw the calendar update. The executive go-no-go meeting moved up to next Thursday. That meant she'd just cut our prep window by almost half. Monday morning, I brought it up. Neutral, polite, factual. Moving the go-no-go up shortens QA validation by 48 hours. Just confirming that's approved? She smiled the kind of smile people use when they're seconds away from snapping. "Don't overcomplicate things, Daniel. We need agility, not bureaucracy." That was the moment I realized she thought the systems were ornamental. Paperwork, not protection. So I gave her exactly what she asked for. No extra safety nets. No invisible labor. She wanted agility? She could have it. Unbuffered, unfiltered, unprotected. By Tuesday evening, I watched from my desk as she rehearsed her presentation for the directors through the glass wall, clicking through my dashboard slides without once understanding how they worked. Her assistant hovered nearby, trying to follow along as she skipped the validation tabs entirely. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt tired. I closed my laptop, took a photo of the current project tracker, and saved it in my personal drive. Time-stamped, locked, ready. If the ship was going to sink, I wasn't going down without a record of who cut the lifeboats loose. Next morning, the first crack appeared. She presented the early metrics in the leadership huddle. Numbers she'd pulled from my dashboard, but filtered wrong. The director of product asked a simple question. Why are these customer counts lower than last week? She froze, clicked again. Her answer, that's a reporting lag. Daniel's still finalizing the sync. Except I wasn't. The sync had been automated for months. She'd deleted the control tab that triggered it because it looked messy. Everyone glanced at me. I said nothing, just a quiet, steady nod. Understood, the director said. Let's review it before Thursday's launch call. After the meeting, she didn't speak to me. She didn't need to. The silence said everything. By then I knew the pattern. Chaos brewing, accountability fogging, the quiet before the storm, and I'd already made peace with it. Because this time, when the storm hit, it wouldn't. By Wednesday, I had stopped saving her entirely. No quiet late-night fixes. No just-in-case cross-checks. Every single process that had lived in my head was now written down, time-stamped, traceable. I called it quiet mode. Not out loud, of course, just in my head. Quiet mode meant I stopped anticipating disasters for people who called preparation overthinking. When she skipped protocol, I didn't warn her twice. When she changed a figure in the dashboard without knowing what it referenced, I didn't gently correct it in the background. I let the number stand. Her number, her risk. And when she copied my deck for the director's review, I didn't fix the alignment or adjust the source links. I watched as she presented my months of work as hers, red slack dot blinking beside her name, while the CFO asked one simple question. Can you filter this by region? I just want to see how Europe compares. She smiled, clicked once, then froze. The filter didn't work. It never would, not without the hidden tab she'd deleted. I sat 3 chairs away, quiet, watching her mouse hover like a lifeline that never came. Afterward, she stormed past my desk, eyes sharp, jaw locked. Next time, make sure your dashboards work in read-only mode, she hissed. My dashboards do, I said evenly. You copied the wrong sheet. She opened her mouth, closed it, walked away. I didn't gloat, I just made a note. Red slack dot incident. 11:12 a.m. That was the first domino. In the following days, I adjusted my entire workflow. Every deliverable went through official channels. No hallway updates, no ad hoc Slack messages. Everything was written, logged, and politely transparent. She hated that. Her entire management style relied on plausible deniability. The ability to say, I told Daniel that, or he must have misunderstood. Now, with tickets, emails, and documented approvals, she couldn't twist anything. When she requested a quick change to the launch validation report, I replied with a smiley-free message. Sure thing. Please confirm scope and deadline in the task tracker so I can prioritize. She didn't reply. 2 hours later, she sent a Slack. Need this today. Just do it. I copy-pasted my previous message. Please confirm scope and deadline in the task tracker so I can prioritize. Nothing. The next morning, she submitted a priority escalation ticket, accusing me of delaying deliverables. It lasted 6 minutes before my manager closed it, with attached proof of her missing approvals. She didn't speak to me the rest of the day, but I noticed something new. People were starting to watch. Engineers who'd been quiet before now messaged me privately. You good? Product leads started copying me directly on communications instead of routing through her. It wasn't rebellion. It was self-preservation. They'd seen how she treated people, and the cracks were showing. By Friday, the real pressure began. She'd moved the go-no-go meeting to the following Thursday, cutting our QA window by 2 full days. That meant the compliance and risk validation cycles were now impossible to complete in time. I sent her, politely, professionally, an email outlining the risk. Accelerating the timeline, we'll skip step 4, vendor data validation. This violates Audit Control 6.2 and could delay the launch post-approval. Please confirm acceptance of this risk. She responded 3 minutes later, 2 words. Noted, proceed. So I did. I removed my name from the control sign-off column and replaced it with hers. It wasn't petty. It was process. If she wanted ownership, she could have it in writing. The following week was like watching a train accelerate toward a curve you'd already mapped. Her Slack status was permanently red. Meetings doubled. Stress bled through every conversation. She started asking questions she should have known the answers to. Where do we store the old launch templates? Who usually notifies compliance? Do we need to include the rollback plan in the exec deck? I answered each one calmly, attaching links, screenshots, timestamps. I gave her no reason to accuse me of sabotage, but the truth was already in motion. The vendor integration she'd optimized was returning partial data. The QA tracker had blank fields where her initials sat. The compliance team had sent 2 follow-ups about an unsigned attestation. Still, she didn't see it. Monday evening, I passed by the glass conference room. She was rehearsing her big launch readiness presentation, pacing, muttering bullet points, rearranging slides. On one of them, my old metrics dashboard blinked, showing an error banner, data source not found. She didn't even notice. I watched the banner flash again like a warning light in a cockpit. Red, bright, ignored. I could have walked in. I could have fixed it in 30 seconds. But I didn't. Quiet mode means you don't catch the knives people throw at themselves. By Tuesday morning, she sent out the pre-launch agenda. Subject: Executive go, no go, Thursday 10 a.m., mandatory attendance. Under presenter, she listed her name alone. Under support, mine. It made me smile, not out of pride, but recognition. I knew how this movie ended. The final hours ticked by. Tuesday bled into Wednesday with the low hum of corporate anxiety. Email chains, Slack threads, calendar overlaps. Every time my screen pinged, I expected the question, "Hey Daniel, can you just take a quick look at..." But it never came. Until 9:47 p.m. Slack message, "Need your help on something small before tomorrow. Just formatting." Formatting. Sure. I opened the file. Her entire deck was broken. Charts showing href, missing visuals, logic errors. The data connections had been removed when she exported the dashboard manually. I stared at the clock. 9:49. I typed one sentence. Can fix tomorrow morning before the meeting if we confirm the data, scope, and ownership first. She didn't answer. At 11:03 p.m., another message appeared. Never mind. I'll handle it. Perfect. Thursday morning came like the hush before an accident. The conference room filled. CFO, product director, legal, compliance, me. She walked in first, smile tight, laptop trembling slightly as she connected to the projector. I watched her take a deep breath. Slide 1 appeared. Launch readiness summary, presented by her name. She clicked to slide 2, and that's when the cracks started showing. Charts half-loaded. A missing source warning. The color palette glitching between versions. She froze for half a second too long. The CFO frowned. Can you open the control checklist? Her hand twitched on the mouse. She clicked. Nothing happened. Where's the rollback plan? Asked compliance. She blinked. It should be here. My name appeared in the corner of the slide. Report authored by Daniel Hart. Every head turned. I met her eyes for a split second, calm, silent, waiting. That was the exact moment she realized what she'd deleted and what she'd depended on. Her face paled, her voice faltered, and the storm finally arrived. The moment she froze, you could feel the oxygen in the room shift. A dozen executives leaning forward in quiet confusion, waiting for her to recover, waiting for a single slide to make sense. The CFO broke the silence first. "Can we see the QA validation tab?" She smiled, the kind of smile that looks like it hurts to hold, and said, "Of course." Click. Error message, file not found. Another click, another. Same red banner. The product director frowned. "Wait, where's the audit trail? I thought the risk team signed off already." My name was still on the document footer, in black, unmistakable text. Author, Daniel Hart. Last modified by her name. The compliance officer leaned in. "Did you merge the control workbook manually?" She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. You could see her pulse at her neck. I sat there, silent, hands folded, watching the storm build. She turned slightly toward me without moving her head, just her eyes. The universal look of, "Please, save me." And for a long second, I said nothing. Because a week ago, she'd told me to leave her alone. And I had. The CFO tapped his pen on the table. "I'm sorry, but without the signed controls, this can't go live." Her voice cracked. "The controls they're in progress. Daniel can confirm." Every head turned toward me. I took a slow breath, just enough to feel it settle. "To clarify," I said evenly, "the validation sequence was paused pending VP approval last Tuesday. The last signed checkpoint was version 3 before the QA compression. When the timeline was accelerated, the final verification steps were removed from scope." Silence. The COO frowned. "Removed by who?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My email thread was still on screen, projected accidentally through her shared window. Everyone could see the line at the bottom. From Daniel Hart. To her name. Subject, timeline adjustment, audit risk. Accelerating the launch will skip. Step 4, vendor data validation. Please confirm acceptance of this risk. Reply, noted. Proceed. The COO's eyes tracked the text slowly, then back to her. "Is this your approval?" She swallowed. "Yes, but I thought." "You thought wrong," the CFO said quietly. The rest of the meeting unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. Every missing control she'd deleted came back to life on the screen, each one with a timestamp, an owner, and a note of who'd signed it off. Her initials appeared in all the wrong places. My name was everywhere else. Each time she tried to pivot, another hole opened. "Where's the vendor QA log?" Missing. "Who signed the compliance attestation?" No one. "What's the rollback window if this fails?" None defined. The director of product leaned back in his chair, sighed, and said quietly, "We can't launch like this." I could have stayed silent. I could have watched her crumble completely. But I didn't want blood. I wanted truth. So I spoke. Calm, controlled, professional. "If we pause the release 48 hours, I can rebuild the control pack, reattach the validation layers, and rerun the vendor sync. It won't be perfect, but it'll be stable and compliant." The CFO nodded. "Can you do that?" She jumped in. "Yes, absolutely." I interrupted gently. "I'll need full access, restored, and written confirmation of scope. And I'll need my name attached to the remediation plan. Transparency is key here." For a heartbeat, the room went still. She opened her mouth again, but the COO beat her to it. "Do it. Daniel, take point. We'll review progress tomorrow." That was it. A single sentence, and the authorities shifted. The next 6 hours were chaos. Emails, calls, file transfers, vendor pings. My screen turned into a war zone of spreadsheets and code. I worked through lunch, through dinner, through the background noise of executives whispering damage control. She hovered behind me for a while, offering useless comments. "Make sure the graphs look clean. Maybe hide those warning notes." I ignored her. By 7:30 p.m., the control pack was restored. Every signature line was visible. Every audit field matched its record. I copied the COO, the CFO, and the compliance team on the final summary. Subject, launch control recovery. Validation complete. All required sign-offs restored, pending final approval for execution. 10 minutes later, I got a reply from CFO. Good work, Daniel. Hold launch until full review tomorrow. Appreciate your diligence. No mention of her. She stood beside me, reading the message over my shoulder. Her face didn't move, but her hands tightened around the edge of the desk. Thanks for helping, she said quietly. I looked at her, expressionless. Always happy to assist, when I'm asked. Her jaw twitched. The next morning, the follow-up meeting was short. The CFO praised the recovery plan, the COO highlighted the importance of structured controls, and compliance cleared the launch. It went live smoothly. 0 incidents. As we wrapped, the COO said, Let's make sure this process becomes the new standard. Daniel, can you document your workflow for the team? Of course, I said. When the call ended, she was still sitting there, staring at her muted screen, pretending to type. Her reflection looked hollow in the dark glass. I stood, collected my notes, and left the room without a word. That night, my phone buzzed. Slack message. From her. Thanks again for saving the launch. I owe you one. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back, no worries, just doing my job, and hit enter. Because that's the thing about storms. They don't end when the rain stops. Sometimes they keep echoing quietly in the distance, and I could already hear the next one rolling in. A week later, at 6:42 a.m., I walked into the office and found her already there, alone. No coffee, no phone, no makeup, just her, staring at the dark screen of her laptop like it was a window to a place she didn't know how to escape from. When she heard my footsteps, she didn't look up right away. Then, in a voice that barely made it across the desk, she said, Please, I need your help. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, just small, like someone trying not to choke on their own pride. I nodded once. What's going on? She turned the laptop toward me. The post-launch report was blank. The CFO wanted the lessons learned doc by 9 a.m., and she didn't know where to start. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered that same conference room, her voice from just a week earlier. Cold, sharp, dismissive. Leave me alone. If I need something, I'll ask. Now she was asking. I didn't gloat. I didn't remind her. I just pulled out a chair, opened a new document, and started outlining the report. We'll keep it simple, I said. Facts only. As I typed, she watched me, quiet, uneasy, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles went white. I could feel the shift happening, not in the air, but in the hierarchy, the unspoken realization that control had changed hands. When we finished, she said, You don't have to do this. I know, I replied, but it's better when things are done right, she nodded, small, almost imperceptible. Then she whispered, Thank you. That was the first real thing she'd ever said to me. By noon, the report was submitted. By 3, an all-hands invite appeared on everyone's calendar. Subject, post-launch recap and recognition. The meeting was led by the COO. Big smiles, formal applause, corporate victory tone. Before we start, the COO said, I want to highlight something. We came very close to a compliance failure last week, but because of Daniel Hart's quick response and meticulous documentation, we avoided a major setback. This is the standard we'll be using going forward. The room clapped. Real clapping. Not polite. Not performative. She smiled too, but it didn't reach her eyes. Then came the final slide. Project role realignment. Effective immediately, operational ownership for launch controls moves under data systems. Daniel will serve as acting project lead until further notice. Her name will transition to strategic planning support for other divisions. Translation, she was off the project. Quietly, neatly, permanently. She didn't argue. She didn't even blink. Just gathered her notes, stood, and left the room. No one followed her. For the next few weeks, the silence around her was absolute. She came in late, left early. Meetings she once dominated carried on without her. People stopped copying her on threads. Eventually, her name disappeared from the org chart. Reassigned was all the email said. I didn't celebrate. I didn't post a thing. Instead, I took the open project lead role, trained a new analyst, and built what I wish someone had built for me, a system that protected the work and the people doing it. My first rule for the new team was simple. Document everything but assume good intent until proven otherwise. The junior analyst, a quiet kid fresh out of school, asked, "What if the boss doesn't want feedback?" I smiled. "Then you learn when to stop talking and when to start writing." He laughed, didn't understand yet. He would. Eventually. A month later, I found myself alone in that same glass room where it all began. The same flickering lights, the same hum. I opened my notebook and scrolled back to my first entry, the one I'd written after she told me to leave her alone. Entry 1, Tuesday, 2:47 p.m. Don't try to convince someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. I closed the notebook and sat there for a moment, watching the reflection of the city lights against the glass. The launch was stable. The team was healthy. My inbox was quiet. And for the first time in months, so was my head. That's the thing about karma. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need revenge. It just needs patience. She told me to leave her alone, so I did. And that, in the end, made all the difference.